Welcome to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with your host, Austin Davidson and John Keir, talking Steelers all the time. Now, here's Austin and John.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another edition of the Stronger Than Steel podcast, hosted by myself, John Keir, and my good buddy, Austin Davidson. It's Season 6, Episode 35. The Pittsburgh Steelers improved to 5-3 on the season, winning their fourth straight game in a Monday night, I don't know if you'd call it thriller, but a close Monday night victory over the Chicago Bears. As I said, the team winning its fourth straight game, now solely in second place in the AFC North Division, as we move towards another game against an NFC opponent, the Steelers.
It's better than ugly losses, so.
You know, they keep reeling off wins, and they did so once again in ugly fashion, but I feel like we're a broken record because we kept saying this down the stretch last year too, but a win is a win. And this game obviously has a lot that needs to be gotten to in terms of the way it was officiated, the way both teams tended to make mistakes for themselves, and for Pittsburgh's end, a hot start going cold, the defense kind of falling apart in the second half, special teams mistakes, great play out of special teams, namely the kicker. This game really had it all, and of course it was topped off by one of those lovely taunting penalties that all fans have clearly been asking for years, because how much better is the league with them than without them. But we have plenty of time to get to all of that, Austin, but I guess the most important thing, like we've been saying, is the Steelers won this game 29-27, and despite where we thought this team was after losing to the Bengals and losing to the Packers, just how bad this team was, we were saying and thinking, maybe this is a 5-win team, maybe at best 6 wins. And here we are. As surprising as it is, they are at 5 wins right now. And they're setting themselves up in a position where if they win against the 0-8 Detroit Lions a week from today, well, not a week from today, but a week from Sunday, they will only have to go 4-4 over their final 8 games to finish with a double-digit win season.
It
seems just insane to me that that's the case, but once again, Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they found a way, even minus all the style points.
Raiders losing as well, then the Bengals and Browns losing, and then Baltimore was so close to losing. Push it to overtime. That would have put the Steelers in first in the division. They knocked out, but the Steelers were so close to almost leading the AFC North and being not even the 4th seed for a division leader, because they would have the tiebreaker over the Buffalo Bills based on obviously week 1. But yeah, so kind of crazy stuff that's going on in the NFL. Oh, the Browns beating the Bengals was helpful. I'm sorry. Yeah.
You said the Bengals and Browns. Did you mean one of those, the Browns?
Yeah, almost everything that needed to happen happened. It was close with the Ravens, just not close enough. But the Steelers
Did you mean the Chargers?
Shot at punching the Ravens
I think they won, though, but they haven't been smooth sailing either. This was a good week for the Steelers, I guess, is the whole point of all of this.
Sure, yeah, we can talk about the rest of the NFL first.
Do you want to get into the slate of NFL, what happened this past week, since it technically happened first, since this was the final game of the week? Okay, then. So, we already recapped what happened last Thursday night between the Colts and Jets, two teams in different spots in the AFC at this point. And beyond that, obviously, you just talked about the Browns and Bengals, probably I don't know if you'd call it super surprising, but the AFC North has been certainly a mixed bag so far. The Bengals crushed the Ravens, and now the Browns, after losing to the Steelers in close fashion, just dumped the Bengals in similar fashion. In fact, if the Bengals had scored one more point, it would have been identical scores to what the Bengals did to the Ravens. But this time it was the Browns doing it to the Bengals, who, yes, had dropped a disappointing game to the Jets the week before, but were still thought of as maybe a potential front runner. But I don't know that I necessarily have changed my opinion on the Bengals, and I do think that they're a better team, but I think this is just these are the things that a young team like the Bengals has to work itself
basically
through.
as soon as the Browns cut Odell Beckham, I felt like the Browns were going to come out
when they were
pissed off. I know it was like a common
I still
narrative,
think this is a
Baker
talented
Mayfield's
team,
pissed
but
off, he's
they
doubted, he's
are
going to do
dealing
good.
with
But
setbacks.
really, the numbers just point to Baker Mayfield playing better when Odell Beckham Jr. is not there. And what do you know? Nick Chubb's back. Baker Mayfield's playing better. This I saw. I didn't think. I thought this would be a closer game, but yeah, I felt good about the Browns winning this game.
As did I, and I think Baker Mayfield had just one incomplete pass in the first half. And it just started kind of strange because the Browns didn't touch the ball for an early portion of the game because the Bengals drove down the field and then threw a 90-yard pick six and then went down and tied it. And then the Browns just immediately took off from there. But yeah, I mean, I give Baker Mayfield a ton of credit. I know that guy gets a lot of crap, and I think he can be a bit overrated in certain circles, but that guy gives it all.
I think so. I mean,
and I really do feel like
it's not always causation and correlation with these things, but like the amount of changes in how his statistics look when Odell Beckham's off the field, when Odell Beckham is supposed to be,
as simple as it's Odell
when he
Beckham
first
Jr.,
got
but it
there,
has
at
to
least
be a
was
part
supposed
of
to
it,
be a
right?
good wide receiver. It's just like there's got to be something there. It's definitely got to play a part. There's something going on there. So I think that, again, as I pointed out last episode, I think Baker Mayfield can play better down the stretch without Odell Beckham there.
And as far as the way that this game turned out, obviously things are all teams in the AFC North have a winning record.
Yeah, I mean it's going to come down to the wire with these teams.
Multiple games left to be settled.
It looks like
the Steelers have played just two divisional games so far. The Browns just two. The Bengals have played three, and the Ravens have played one. There's still a lot to be decided in this division, and should be pretty exciting.
It's going to be a fight for the AFC North till the end. It is a circle. It's a circle of violence.
It's not exactly a circle of sadness, but it is.
I think that they all could be very close, and they all could. There's like a chance that like there's two teams that finish 10-7 in this division.
I know there's still much of the season left to be played, but
beating each other up.
Would you be surprised if maybe the worst record for any team in this division is 8 wins? It's very interesting, very reminiscent of 2014, the last time 3 teams from the division made the playoffs. And as a matter of fact, with the extra playoff spot, it's technically possible for all 4 teams to make it. Now, that would require every wild card, and with the AFC having 11 of its 16 teams with a winning record, I wouldn't say it's likely, but it's certainly not impossible. So, just something to keep an eye out. Let's move on to one of the biggest upsets of the week.
Yeah,
if it weren't for the Bills and Jaguars, I feel like Broncos, Cowboys, Denver rolling in and beating Dallas by 14 points.
Good. And I mean, there was that weird blocked
late in the game. I feel like would have been a bigger surprise. Denver just kicked the crap out of the Cowboys, and I never saw it coming.
Broncos were able to recover, and it gave them a first down. That was bizarre. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, I definitely didn't see this game coming. It was a wild game. And also, just to touch on some NFL news, the Cowboys just lost Randy Gregory likely for like 3 weeks. They're putting him on IR because of an injury in practice on Wednesday. So, I feel like they just keep getting hurt. That sucks. Oh, yeah. I mean, Micah Parsons was playing like edge rusher. and he's like supposed to be an inside linebacker, and he's absolutely tearing up a position he hasn't played since high school, and he's
Micah
switching between the
Parsons is a
positions. That versatility,
damn good player.
and while being
you really
great
wish
at
Devin
both
Bush
spots,
was Micah Parsons.
that's wild for a rookie. Crazy. I mean, people gave the Cowboys a lot of shit for taking Parsons, I feel like, because like they didn't necessarily need him because they had a full inside linebacker room. But I mean, they might have taken a really really good defensive player that should be good for a while. Yeah, I didn't see it. There's red on the Cowboys helmet.
Feeds into that old adage, which is you draft the best players available.
Did they have like a...
What do you think of the red
okay,
on the Cowboys helmet? I thought that was kind of interesting.
Okay. Yeah, that's cool. It's like an American
so
flag.
you know
It's
how they
kinda
have
like,
they have the tricolored
flag?
stripe?
France?
What do you know what I'm talking about? Well, you can always just look at a picture later. I just thought it looked pretty cool. I believe it was for Veterans Day coming up this week.
Okay. Yeah, it's solid. It's weird, but I like it.
I know that it was also some sort of callback to what they used to
Their
wear.
whole
Like
team?
the earliest iterations of the Cowboys in the '60s wore red helmets with red stripes too. As odd as that is to think about. You know what wasn't solid though?
Tua wasn't actually active for that game. Well, no, I'm sorry. He
gonna say
was
the
as an
Texans
emergency,
and
but they told him that
Dolphins
he has a
game.
broken bone in
What
his
a,
finger, and
what a
he shouldn't
disaster
start,
that
but he was
game
left
ended up
active
being.
as an
So,
emergency guy.
Tua, not up for the. Tua went down really early, right? Oh, he. So enter two of our favorite quarterbacks, Tyrod Taylor and Jacoby Brissett. And, you know, I picked the Texans based on Tyrod Taylor starting this game. And he actually played very, very poorly, which I was not expecting. Jacoby Brissett wasn't great in this one, but he was certainly much better. 9 sacks given up between these two teams, and the Dolphins doing just enough to get their second win on the year. Is it fair to say that this Dolphins team was probably an overachiever last year, but
and
yet at the same time, even if you expected regression,
see, I don't know, because I was expecting
them
Tyrod
to win
Taylor
this game just
to
because
come out
they
and win this game.
also
I felt like the
as bad as
Texans
the 1-17
with Tyrod
they
Taylor
were.
earlier in the year were actually not that bad. Like, I felt like they were playing, yeah. Oh yeah, he played awful in this game. That was unfortunate. I started him in fantasy because of Kyler Murray, so that hurt. But
they weren't. They were competitive, but he just played very poorly on Sunday.
yeah, I think that the Dolphins are probably a little
I was
bit
just
better
more
than
so
that
speaking
2-7
from the standpoint
record. Not
of
by much though. They haven't really been
were we
playing
not
that
giving
well.
the Dolphins enough credit because they struggled so much to start the year, when in reality they're probably better than their record is at this point.
Yeah, that's definitely holding them. Not able to run, not able to pass. What can you do?
You know what the issue is? It's the offensive line, which is just a horrifically bad unit. Indeed. Onto an NFC matchup, NFC South. The Falcons get a close 2-point win over the New Orleans Saints. Trevor Siemian continues to struggle as Matt Ryan has kind of turned around a slow start to the season, and he's looked better as of late. Cordarrelle Patterson continues to be a star for that team.
And
Kyle Pitts remains an awesome option for them as well. The Saints,
Patterson.
now without Jameis Winston, appear to be
was
not a bad team, but
close.
are certainly not as don't strike the
it really
fear in
they
the
let
hearts
the
of their
Saints
opponents
battle
like they once
back in the
did.
fourth quarter, because I think early on in the fourth quarter it was about yeah, it would have been on brand, but yeah, so it was like 24 to I think 3 at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So that was tough. that was
They
definitely
scored
tough.
22 of their 25
let the Saints
points in the
back
final
into it,
quarter.
but
So the
they
Falcons
were able to
nearly
hang
pulled
on,
another
so they
Falcons.
didn't, as you said, pull the Falcons.
Elsewhere, the Las Vegas Raiders lost a tough game in New Jersey to the New York Giants, who I know the Giants have certainly not been a sexy team this year. My initial gut said to pick the Raiders, but I've just felt like this was going to be the week that everything caught up to the Raiders with everything going on, including, I should also mention, their other first-round pick from last season, Damon Arnett, was released after a video surfaced over the weekend of him making death threats while holding a firearm. And he hasn't played the last few weeks because he's on injured reserve, but he's also facing lawsuits stemming from a car accident last year. Apparently, you sent me something like he was in, 4 rental car accidents in a month or something insane like that? Man, you hate to see it. The Raiders have done such a poor job wasting their early picks over the last few years. And for all the Hunter Renfros and Max Crosbys that they've drafted, they've also drafted, Henry Ruggs, who, not that you could predict something like that, but him, Damon Arnett. You can talk about Cleveland Farrell, who is a healthy scratch at times this year. That team has just been terrible with their early picks, and a lot of people have criticized the Los Angeles Rams for the way they've managed their picks, but I'd rather trade, if you're going to spend picks on first-round picks like that and Alex Leatherwood, you might as well just trade him for what the Rams have been doing. At least at that point, you're getting established players. The Raiders have missed terribly. It's kind of incredible they're playing as well as they are with the picks that they've missed.
It could be called the difference
this was going to be a game where the Giants, or everything going on with the Raiders, was
as a whole, their team just
didn't
really play that well, and the Giants came to play. What more can be said? It was a pretty competitive game up until that pick six.
Dagger. In the Panthers and Patriots game, the Patriots continue to have a strange split where they're winning all their games on the road, 4-0, but are 1-4 at home. 24-6, Sam Darnold gets hurt in this one, suffers a partial non-displaced fracture in his right scapula, which sounds quite painful. Darnold has been struggling mightily after a good opening 3 weeks to start the season.
Deal.
This
There's
week completing less than 50% of his passes, throwing 3 interceptions. As a matter of fact,
roster bonus
it has led to the Panthers re-signing their former quarterback in Cam Newton. You want to touch on that briefly?
Be the immediate starter. He's vaccinated, so he could come in and immediately practice. We'll see if they give PJ Walker one week the AAF legend or XFL legend. Yeah. I thought he was in both, but XFL legend. Yeah. Yeah.
XFL. He probably was, let's be honest. I'll check that for you right now, actually. I'm kind of curious. What are the Panthers doing? I know we were talking about this a little bit. We were talking about this a little bit off the air just because the Panthers are a team that feels like they're half in, half out with that decision to trade for Sam Darnold. It's like, okay, let's figure out what's going on. And then they start making these acquisitions. They trade for Stephon Gilmore, and they're pushing all the chips to the middle of the table. Do they really think that they're going to win by signing Cam Newton? I'm not saying they shouldn't have signed him. I'm just saying it seems very
I feel like they do have the defense to compete. So I do think at this point
PJ
Cam
Walker
Newton might be better than Sam Darnold. Darnold is bad. I said it from the get-go. You don't get a Jets team that bad unless there's multiple things wrong. And I know there's a lot of blame to go on Adam Gase. I'm definitely not rectifying him. But you don't do that bad with just bad coaching. If you don't, because a good quarterback can steal you some games. Sam Darnold was never a good quarterback. And that's unfortunate. I think his time in the league is concluded. Basically, this should be it for him. At least as a starter, yeah, he'll probably catch on somewhere as a backup. But yeah. So looking at the division, I think that the Panthers do have the defense to compete. They've been playing really well.
Certainly as a starter.
And then Stephon Gilmore just started playing. Brian Burns is now hurt because of a controversial play in this game, but Brian Burns is doing good. Yeah, so on a play that Mac Jones threw, was it throw a pick or did he fumble? He fumbled on that play. He threw a pick in this game and he fumbled. But the one that
can you touch on that, by the way?
Brian Burns got hurt on,
can you talk
he had
about that
fumbled
for a second? Because
and
I
he fell.
think I know what you're
And
talking
the
about.
argument he made was that he thought Brian Burns had the ball, but it wasn't really even close. And so when he was on the ground and Brian Burns was over him, he grabbed Brian Burns' leg, which got him tripped up, and he got twisted, and it gave him an ankle sprain. So Mac Jones basically sprained Brian Burns' ankle for no reason, grabbing him. It was called a controversial play. Matt Ruley came out and said, like, I don't know what was going on in Mac Jones' head. And then Brian Burns came out and said, I hope defensive ends have a field day against him because I can't get my revenge, basically. So yeah, that was interesting. That whole debacle. But yeah, so Brian Burns is now injured. But yeah, so as a whole, when they get healthy, I think that the Panthers can compete. I really like Hassan Reddick. I really didn't expect him to be what he is when I first looked at him pre-draft. First of all, he didn't even come out as an edge rusher, so that's part on me to not evaluate that because I looked at him as an inside linebacker, but he's become a really good edge rusher. It's like at least sacks wise, maybe not pressure wise, but he's got 8.5 sacks on the year. I mean, he's doing really solid. I like him. Anyway. Yeah, something like that. But anyway, as a whole,
took a long time,
but
he's
and the offense has.
I guess
pieces.
that's what the thing you have to look at with switching.
Like the offense obviously has Christian McCaffrey. They have DJ Moore.
I guess
DJ
the Cardinals
Moore started the year so good, and then just sucked. Robbie Anderson has sucked this year, but I don't know if that's because of Sam Darnold or the combination. Yeah, I actually like their combination of tight ends. Like they drafted Tommy Tremble, who's a really good blocker, and I like Ian Thomas. Maybe not that much, but he's solid.
He's just not getting targets.
Terrence Marshall is a rookie that I was excited about
after
I saw him in preseason against us, but
all.
he hasn't really done much. But so I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe Cam Newton will give them a more competitive team because they're 4-5. Like I know the Falcons. I think just entered the NFC wild card, and I think they're 4-4. They're 4-4, and I'm pretty sure they hold the last wild card spot. So that should give the Panthers a kind of easier way to compete. They should be able to still hang in this if they could just get a little bit better quarterback play. And I've been a recorded Cam Newton hater, but I mean if he could add more than what Sam Darnold was doing, either by just not turning over the ball 3 times or adding a rushing ability that they didn't have before, which I think he still has. I think he'll be better, and he could take away that spot from the Falcons. Yeah, they're built very similar.
This team right now is very similar to what the Saints are right now, too. In terms of the way that they could run their offense, I do think that the way that they could run their offense is similar to the way the Patriots did with Cam Newton early last season, where they run heavy attack with multiple tight ends. And I think that it might not be great, but it could be effective enough. I've also been a noted Cam Newton hater, but I do think he's their best quarterback option for sure. Let's move on to the Bills and Jaguars. The biggest surprise of the weekend, the evidence that my lock of the week is cursed, because the Jaguars defeat the Buffalo Bills 9-6 in a game where Josh Allen of the Jaguars outshined Josh Allen of the Buffalo Bills. He reclaimed his name, Austin. The Jaguars just crushed the Bills offensively and are efficient enough to move the ball successfully enough to, get the job done. And It took a couple plays from C.J. Beathard as well, but Josh Allen of the Bills,
Yeah, I mean,
2
this
interceptions,
game,
sacked 4
Josh
times,
Allen,
fumbled in this one.
linebacker,
And Josh
just
Allen of the
absolutely
Jaguars
destroyed. I mean, he
had
did
a
everything
pick,
that you
an
basically
interception and a
he
fumble
basically
recovery.
could. He recovered a
Clearly
fumble.
showing
He
that
had a sack.
when there
he
are
had
2
tackles
Josh
for a
Allens
loss
on
in
the
this
field,
game.
only
He
one
led
can play
the
well.
team in tackles. Absolutely destroyed the game, and just the Bills weren't able to really move the ball downfield effectively. They weren't doing a good job in the running game, partially because Zach Moss got hurt, but even before he got hurt, he had only carried the ball 3 times for 6 yards. Singletary then came in and wasn't able to really do much. Josh Allen finished with less than 10 yards per completion. Yeah, and way less on the attempt. Yeah, almost is half. He finished with less than 5 yards per attempt. So, not getting the ball downfield for most of the day, not good. So,
Attempt.
yeah, surprise game.
Per completion.
That ended terribly for the Bills. Great for the Steelers though that the Bills lost.
The Jaguars only really with 1 negative play, a fumble that they lost, but outside of that, they really just took care of the ball. I mean, they didn't put up eye-popping numbers. Only Dan Arnold had more than 27 receiving yards in this game, and they didn't have James Robinson, but they got the job done thanks to their defense and made big plays when they needed to. The Bills had a total of 9 runs from their running backs in this game. It's something interesting to point out, and we'll get to the Chiefs later, is that the Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are facing more too high coverage shells than any other quarterbacks in the league, basically forcing them to take underneath stuff and basically saying, you're going to have to be patient. It'll take 12, 15 plays for you to basically dice us up underneath, which is, what Tom Brady used to do. Still does, from time to time, but
yeah, it doesn't help that they don't have a running game at all. Like, it kind of reminds me of the Steelers like last year, that there's just no run game.
It's interesting to note
support
that
Josh Allen. Part of that's on them though. They don't even try really with the run game. As you point out, they only had 9 runs between running backs on the day. And granted, they weren't. Yeah, he had 5 himself. I feel like they should do a better job at trying to get the running backs more involved. I say that. They get Singletary involved in the passing game. I mean, as soon as Zach Moss went down, Singletary was the guy. Singletary finished with the second most catches on the team after that. And obviously he wasn't even a starter. And the running backs had 9 catches altogether. Actually, there might be more. Yeah, no. It was 9 altogether. So, but they need to get involved in the rushing game. Make it so they can respect the play action a little bit more. I don't know. The Bills just look inconsistent. I was just gonna say the Bills look inconsistent. They haven't really beaten anyone very good, and they've lost to some good teams, and they lost to the Steelers, wherever you view the Steelers at. So I don't know where the Bills are at.
Look, Sorry, go ahead. My bad.
I don't know if they could win. If they make it to the playoffs, they could win 3 games in a row. It just doesn't look like it.
When they are on, I do think they're the best team in the AFC, maybe in the league, but they have shown a disturbing trend to not be consistent enough. There's still time for them to put things together. A lot of teams have done that over the second half of seasons, but the way things are trending, there's something that's not working, and they got to get it fixed.
I mean,
look, we talk all the time about running successfully, not running a ton.
They should be trying to run a little bit more. I'm hoping
the way teams are playing defense now, it's inviting the Bills to run,
I love Devin
and I actually do think that they might benefit from running the ball a little bit. I think
as soon as Devin Singletary leaves the Bills, wherever he goes, he's going to be lit. He's going to be an absolute great running back. I think they are so scared of him because he's small. They literally don't use him in goal line situations at all because of it, because he's undersized or small for NFL standards. But I think as soon as Singletary leaves this team and goes to a team that's a little bit more run-oriented, I think he's going to be a really great running back.
The Baltimore Ravens defeat the Minnesota Vikings in overtime, twice overcoming a 14-point deficit against the Vikings. What a disappointing result for the Vikings, who appeared to have this game wrapped up on multiple occasions, but the Ravens come back, and for much of the season, their running game hasn't been quite the same as it had been the previous 2.5 seasons, but this week it came back to life. 45 totes in total for
Freeman
247 yards.
Actually looked really
that'll
solid.
get the job done. And the
they
Ravens
both
are
were
6-2
really
and have had a lot of close
running
wins
backs
similar
on
to the
day.
Steelers,
Bell got
but
the
are currently
touchdown.
leading the
Freeman
AFC
was
North.
more effective.
And Justin Tucker once again.
But like they were both very, very good. And then Lamar Jackson, holy cow! I didn't know he had that many carries.
He was good too.
Carries. That's a lot. Yeah, there's something I'll never take away from Lamar Jackson, and I think I saw it in our group chat the other day. Someone was saying Vic was better than Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is the best running.
I know you don't like him.
Rushing quarterback we've ever seen. Vic isn't even in the same stratosphere.
Regardless of what you think about him, those are crazy numbers.
Yeah, Lamar is literally the best. Vic was good, but Vic was a better thrower, but Lamar Jackson's rushing ability is
most
unmatched.
Of his runs
it's
were
never been
scrambles
seen. There's not a quarterback that's ever been close to what Lamar Jackson does. And I guess likely the closest is Cam Newton, but like they're different kind of runners too. Yeah, completely different. It's just more of the stats wise Cam Newton is closer, but no, Lamar Jackson is better. However, you go to the passing stats, 2 interceptions, so I will hold that Lamar Jackson isn't that great because of his passing ability. But
completely different.
Yeah, unfortunate that the Vikings couldn't hold on, help out the Steelers. It was so close. They got that first stop in overtime when it shouldn't have even gotten to overtime. And it's like, okay, the Vikings might win, and then they did not. So that's a shame. But it is what it is. Yep, the Steelers got all the other help, and it's not like this is the worst thing in the world. Steelers get their own shot at taking on the Ravens twice later in the year, so I'm not really worried about it. It just would have been nice.
That was the one other domino that needed to fall.
Yeah, no, he's just a really good rusher.
Another thing is when I feel like when you talk about the whole Lamar Jackson as a running back thing, that's all. I know it's meant like kind of as a shot at his passing, but it's also meant to highlight that he's also really good as a running back too.
Yeah, he's more elusive than like that big guy like Cam Newton.
I mean, he's just so elusive in the open field too. He's more like Barry Sanders when he's running with the football than he is Cam Newton.
Yeah, it was a close game. I mean, Vegas had that almost nailed.
Into the 4 o'clock slate of games we go. The Chargers defeat the Eagles 27-24. Another late game.
And it came down to the
Chargers. Justin Herbert putting up big
numbers
again.
I still want to see the Chargers play better. I feel like they should be playing better. I'm not really understanding. I think I need to watch more of their game, see why they're not playing as well, and see what's like actually going on. Oh, yeah, wow. Jalen Hurts, 62 yards. Jordan Howard, 71 yards. Boston Scott, 40 yards.
Their run defense is pretty bad. They're inviting teams to run, and normally that's considered a good thing because it's less efficient, but they're giving up so much on the ground it almost doesn't matter. Let's get to the NFC West affair between the Kyler Murray-less Cardinals defeating the San Francisco 49ers by 14 points, despite the fact that Colt McCoy started in this one. Played pretty well, too. Only missed out 4 passes. The Cardinals running game, total? Outstanding once again. Led by James Conner in this one. 21 carries, 96 yards, and 2 more touchdowns. Up to, 9 on the season? Or 10? That would tie a career high, I believe.
Okay, so he's at 11. I thought he was at 12 for some reason.
But I'm checking right now.
The NFC West is wild. This is why you always pick, usually the team that is not favored because no DeAndre
Yeah,
Hopkins,
10 touchdowns
no
on
Kyler
the season
Murray,
on the
no
ground and 1 through the air.
problem for the Arizona Cardinals. That's what they said. That's why I took the Cardinals +3. I said if Kyler Murray plays, cool. If he doesn't, still cool. The NFC West is a wild, wild division every single time they play. And then you get games like this where James Conner has 3 touchdowns in the game and like 130 scrimmage yards, or even more than that. He had 160 scrimmage yards. So, absolutely wild. George Kittle looked good in his game back. He led the team in receptions for the 49ers, but I'm just not that high on the 49ers, man. Never going to be. Not with Jimmy Garoppolo, at least. Yep. And Shanahan should be on the hot seat.
He's just an average quarterback at this point. Absolutely. For a team that usually runs the ball really well, they had 9 carries from running backs, and they went pretty much nowhere. James Conner has 11 touchdowns this year. That's the second most he's had in a single season. He had 13 in the 2018 season. 1 receiving touchdown, so he's matched that. He has a career high of 3 receiving touchdowns from 2 years ago.
He's likely going to break it, especially with that extra game. I mean, he's Chase Edmonds is hurt. I don't know if we pointed that out. So he got hurt in this game. He's out
to set a career high there.
Yeah, he's supposed to be out for like 4 to 6 weeks, anywhere in between. So James Conner is the guy now. I mean, they have a guy. I think his name is Eno Benjamin. I don't remember his first name. It is Eno Benjamin. He's going to be the next guy up, and he got some carries in this game after Chase Edmonds got hurt. But James Conner has a very good chance to break that personal touchdown record that he has.
Perfect example, too, of how he can thrive in a situation where he doesn't have to be the number one guy for an entire season.
You have to, with those touchdowns, you know that at least 10 of his runs are successful.
Outside of touchdowns,
he's been very effective within the 5-yard line.
Carry average is down, but I'd be willing to bet that his
stat. I don't want to misquote it, but there was a stat today talking about how effective he was within the 5-yard line. I think it's 7 of his 9 rushes within them have been touchdowns. Like, he's doing really, really good there. Which obviously it's going to lower his yards per carry, but I also think his yards per carry is going to go up over time with now Rodney Hudson coming back. That should help having that offensive lineman down the middle that's a little bit better. I think that should increase it as well.
James Conner already has 32 first downs converted on the ground, which is more than he had in all of 2019, and is just 10 off from his second highest career mark, which he set last year. 56 first downs is what he had in 2018, which was obviously his career year, which he should break as well. So
yeah,
even though he's not I'm glad that the lead bell cow guy like he was in Pittsburgh,
the Steelers did him dirty,
going to
not
still
the other
get
way around.
better numbers
He probably wanted to come back. He got a cheap deal to go to the Cardinals.
Depending on, of course, if Edmonds is, depending on how much time he misses.
Yeah, I
Me
mean,
too. You have to root for the guy.
Yeah, they wanted to move on from him. They took a first-round running back.
Well,
I just wanted
James
Conner
back. The Steelers
back.
did him dirty. I just think it was the way that it worked out. Think about who they had behind him. Do you really want more carries for Benny Snell? I mean, I did too. Look, we can get into the whole Najee Harris thing, but I would say that so far it's worked out picking him. I'm not saying that I still like the idea of picking a first round running back, but I will say you can see the difference he makes versus a guy like Benny Snell. We've seen far too many examples of that so far.
Still second round max.
Has it made you reconsider drafting a running back early?
If you're taking one in the first round, you better trade back.
I still don't think I'd almost
reason
ever
to take
do
one
it.
still.
But at least
you know
right
what I'd
now,
rather
based
have
on what
right
I've
now.
seen
No
so
offense to
far, it at
Najee, because
least
Najee's
makes
been
me
great.
think that
I don't want to take
sometimes
away
he
from
can make an
Najee. I'd rather
exception.
have Creed Humphrey and James Conner. I would take that.
Okay.
I'd exchange that. That too, yeah. Having a cornerback like him would be nice. But then I worry about how James Conner is doing with an offensive line with like Kendrick Green. It's tough.
I'd rather have Asante Samuel Jr. too.
Yeah.
Just making you think about it is all. Let's move on to the Packers and Chiefs, the game of the week, at least what it was piped up to be with Aaron Rodgers. No Aaron Rodgers in this one. Jordan Love gets his first career start. And, he actually technically, in some manners, outdueled Patrick Mahomes in one of the uglier 13-7
not a
games
good day
in
for
recent memory.
quarterbacks considered
Just
good.
both teams struggling
it just
mightily to
wasn't
move the football.
very good at all
the Chiefs,
for him. I mean,
have
he
they
didn't have
ever looked
turnovers in this
worse in
game, which is
victory?
big for him
And
because he's been
I feel like I asked this
pacing
question last week when they beat the Giants, but
leader in
somehow
interceptions
it's
thrown,
still
but
worse.
Still under the under 10 yards per completion, just like our friend Josh Allen, under 5 yards per attempt, or very close to it, at just above it maybe. I can't do math. No, under it. Okay, 166 yards on 37 attempts. Okay, perfect. But so not very good. Just as a whole, it was a very ugly game. I turned it off because I was like, this sucks. Like it was just not a good game. Yeah, just not good. Yeah, that's just not good.
I believe Mahomes' average depth of target was something like 5. For him, it's terrible. And Jordan Love was not good either. He missed a lot of throws. Now, I know you can kind of excuse some of it because it's his first career start in an unfriendly environment, but he needed to be better. The Packers ran the ball pretty effectively in this one, but they just couldn't get going. Devontae Adams reminds you of Antonio Brown with Michael Vick.
Well, not even a question. This game is.
I don't know if we'll see
blowout.
Jordan Love
Chiefs
again this year.
Absolutely,
with Rodgers
wrecked.
expected to return off the COVID list on Saturday. I mean, we'll see, but the Packers, this was a game they certainly would have won with Aaron Rodgers. So, all right, into Sunday night. You had your pulse on the way things were going to go, Austin. I give you a lot of credit picking the Titans in this one.
Yeah,
they went impressively, 28-16
I thought Tennessee
over
would
the
honestly
Rams.
do better, not in terms of score. They did fine.
I don't know
but I thought
where
that their
people
offense would
stand
be better,
on this Rams
honestly.
team. I still have some
part of the
question
score
marks,
obviously is the
but
pick
the
six
fact
that
that the
Matt
Titans
Stafford
beat
threw.
them
So
without Derrick Henry
the
the way that
offense
they
was
did
really
was
only
quite
able to put
impressive.
up 21 points on its own. I still see that Tennessee could get better because they did rely on their defense a lot more for this than I expected, because it didn't go exactly as I thought. I thought that Tannehill would return to being able to show that he can throw, having a better, similar to last year, and he really wasn't that good. I mean, he was definitely under 10 yards a carry. He was just above a carry. He was just under 10 yards of completion. He was just over 5 yards per attempt. Wasn't very good. He got a rushing touchdown. All right. But as a whole, they weren't very good. I felt like the Rams just played really bad. I mean, Stafford had 2 picks. He wasn't able to move the ball at all in the beginning. And obviously he threw that pick 6. The pick 6 didn't end up making the difference. They could have won anyway with just what the Tennessee team did on offense alone. But still, I think there's still more that the offense could do, because I was expecting a little bit more. Yeah, that should help as well, getting a running back
Yep.
going. I
And,
do think the Rams. What I can't take away, the
I
Rams
do feel like
defense
their
is really
offense will
good.
get a
I
bit
still
back
think
on
what I
track
said
here
about the
because
Titans could come to
we saw very
fruition, where they
limited
could
work
play
from Adrian Peterson. I expect that he'll start to get
good
more work as
offense
time
even without
progresses,
Derrick
too.
Henry. Just maybe against some lesser opponents. The Rams are one of the top defenses in the league.
All right, so that brings us back to Monday Night Football, the Steelers defeating the Chicago Bears. Shall we get to the injury report first? We'll talk about what's going on there. The big name that came out of that was wide receiver Chase Claypool, who got an MRI after he suffered a toe injury that caused him to miss part of the game on Monday. Now he did return to the game and played, so there's that. But he got an MRI. It's not season-ending, but he's considered by Mike Tomlin week to week.
At the time of recording right now, it's 2:02. I'm going to take a look and see if they updated
this upcoming week is in doubt. Put it that way.
Report,
did we get an updated injury report from practice today?
Yeah, I don't really expect Claypool to practice this week.
He did not practice yesterday.
I just went to their site and they only have Wednesday on still.
Now, yesterday was more of a walkthrough because the Steelers didn't get that extra day. They lost that extra day because they were playing on Thursday. By the way, James Robinson is starting to practice again for the Jaguars. Ian Rappaport says the Panthers gave $4.5 million guaranteed to Cam Newton out of the 10.
Yeah, I definitely don't think Claypool is going to be ready this week.
Right.
I'm honest. I'll be shocked if he records
nothing new on Claypool right now, but
as
we stand right now, I'd be kind of surprised if he plays.
I'm pretty sure he's going to be held out this week, which is going to make the wide receiver room a little bit scary. With just it is Anthony Miller season, heck yeah, or Cody White season, or whatever. James Washington season, Ray McLeod season, whoever you want it to be. It's true. He's not allowed.
Anthony Miller season. No. James Washington will never get targets. What a name,
Johnny Holton, the legend that always got targeted but never made a catch.
oh God.
Something like that. I thought we got to 13. I thought we got to 13 targets.
Johnny Holton will be signed and will get targets before James Washington does again.
Legend. Absolute. Heck.
What was he? 9 targets, 1 reception. $15 targets, 3 receptions in 2019 for 21 yards. 1.3 yards per game. Where else? Defensive tackle Cam Hayward and linebacker Robert Spillane are dealing with what's considered to be minor ankle injuries. Both practiced in full yesterday, so they should be all good to play, barring any setbacks. Isaiah Buggs, defensive tackle, left the game with a hip injury. Looked like he was going to be a part of groin club, but he suffered a hip injury, according to Mike Tomlin. He also practiced in full on Wednesday, so he should be good to go. Tight end Eric Ebron, Mike Tomlin offered an update saying he should return to practice this week, and he was limited yesterday, so he has. No further updates on defensive end Stephon Tuitt. And given the news that the Steelers were apparently interested in trading for...
I liked it. Fletcher Cox is a really good player. He's older now, but he's got a fat contract. There wouldn't have been much money left because of how the Eagles
I completely blanked there. Yeah, the Steelers were apparently in on Fletcher Cox.
Obviously, it would have been a solid move.
The trigger was not pulled, but
I think he would have been a really good piece to put on the defensive line to, give Cameron Hayward some help on the defensive line. Not that he needs it. He's been playing really well, but just to have more pieces that are up to closer to Hayward's level would have been nice. But yeah, it is what... No, I was just going to say, it is what it is. But yeah, now with Buggs being hurt a little bit, he just banged up, that kind of sucks because, the depth at the position isn't very good along the defensive line because of the injuries. It's kind of going to force Henry Mondo to get a little bit more playing time if Bugs come, because obviously, as you pointed out, this the injury report we got was a walkthrough, so we don't truly know if Bugs is going to be okay tomorrow. It might be like a limited participant or something. So the depth at the position is not as good as when we first started the year. We started the year, there was like, what, 8 defensive linemen on the roster? 9?
We said eight NFL caliber defensive players, including Mondo, and obviously Alualu down for the year. Stephon Tuitt has missed a lot of time, so you're down to 6 right there. And then Carlos Davis has been injured most of the season. Bugs has been dinged up. So
thank God they had 8 of them. How much more time does he have to even be activated? Boy. Not a lot, right? Isn't it? You could open up a 21-day window.
By the way, I would also imagine that it's not a good sign for Stephon Tuitt that they were going after Fletcher Cox.
See, that always confused me because, like, if it's 3-week or 8-week in IR, right? But you could open up the window.
The end of the season?
And then you get 21 more days. But I thought you had to open up the window within a certain amount of time of that 3 or 8 weeks. I don't know if they changed that or not. I'll have to take a look at that later.
That I'm not sure about. I do recall what you're talking about, but I don't know if that's changed at all. Well, point is, he's not getting activated this week, or, he's not returning to practice this week. We would have been told that. So you're talking minimum next week, which puts us a week out from Thanksgiving. So you're talking, and he's going to have to take the 3 weeks, you would imagine. So you're talking, if he started practicing then, you're talking best case scenario the first full week of December that he comes back. I'm starting to think this is a lot very reminiscent of what happened to Marquise Pouncey in 2015. It'll be unfortunate. Remember,
luckily, Chris Wormley
had an ankle injury, really
solid, not as good as Tuitt,
and then
not as good as a pass rusher.
Was expected to come back like mid-season, but just never did.
Good enough. He's definitely been
due to
solid,
staph infections. Where he had to keep getting operations on that
Tuitt
ankle.
would come back, but as you're saying, it's kind of looking like he's not going to be coming back this season.
And it really hurts not having him and Tyson Alualu. We've seen this defensive line play well over time with one of those 3 guys out for a long period, but it's tough when 2 of those 3 have been out, which makes what Cam Hayward's been doing this year so impressive. One more bit of news for the Steelers to get to. They released Josh Lambo, the kicker, from the practice squad, since Chris Boswell is good to go. And they have signed former Falcons outside linebacker Jacob Tuioti Mariner to take his place. He's had some decent reps for the Falcons, but the Steelers fortifying their outside linebacker room with Melvin Ingram.
I'm going to start with special teams.
Indeed. So shall we get into this game? Where do you want to begin? Do you want to talk about the refs? Do you want to talk about how do you want to approach this one? All right. Well, how about first let's give a ton of props and a game ball to Chris Boswell. Almost flawless night. Almost perfect game for Chris Boswell. 3 of 3 on field goals, hits 2 50-plus yard field goals, never been done before in Heinz Field, a 52 and a 54-yarder, both extremely crucial, and obviously the 40-yard game winner. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. But he did miss one PAT, which could have been crucial,
basically
but the
the only reason he did not win
in spite of that.
Special teams
and he also recovered a fumble
he realistically
on a kickoff.
Probably should have won
Chris
it
Boswell,
anyway.
Excellent.
And even with the extra point, because he did something that's never happened in Heinz Field history. He kicked 2 50-yard field goals, which just in general, kicking 2 50-yard field goals is not done every week by every kicker. You know, it's not easy. Then getting a fumble recovery on top of it, he likely should have won AFC Special Teams Player of the Week over Johnny Townsend, the punter for the Chargers. But that's neither here nor there. He won it in my heart, and he did. He did a really great job. Apart from missing that extra point, it was clutch. He was clutch as he has been.
And that's good to see, because even though a concussion is different than, most types of injuries, you never know how an injury to your head might affect how a kicker thinks or something like that. So I don't know that I'd say I was nervous, but I also had, some of my questions at the same time too. Boswell, though, 15 of 16 on field goals this year, and having missed just 2 kicks in total this year, obviously very, very accurate. And, despite the one season, 2018, when he missed 7 field goals and 5 extra point attempts, he has been at or above 90-plus field goal percentage for all but 2 seasons of his career, the first being his second season when
crazy.
He was 21 of 25
just
and 84%.
Destroying. I mean, it's funny that the most accurate kickers are playing right now. It kind of tells you how the game
2018 season.
has
Boswell's
advanced.
the third most
Last week,
accurate
the Steelers
kicker
had
in league
both
history,
third and
even
fourth
with the
most
season where
accurate
he missed more kicks than any other kicker in the league.
Oh, I have this messed up. I apologize. I thought that I thought I had the stats for all time, and I was looking at it because Justin Tucker, Harrison Butker, and Chris Boswell are all part of the top 5. But I was looking at a 2021 list. They just happen to all be the most accurate this year as well. Surprise. Anyway. Oh no, I did have it right. I'm sorry. Again, it is funny that the Steelers had the 3rd and 4th most accurate kicker on NFL history this past week. Josh Lambo's number 4 all time in most accurate kickers. So, but yeah, Chris Boswell's rising up the ranks. He might even be able to catch Harrison Butker one day if he keeps this up with not missing the field goals.
It's funny that you point out kickers being more likely to hit their kicks, being more accurate than ever. I just think that's you can attribute that to improving science with learning how to strike the ball. You know what I mean? I just think that that's one of those things that you add over the course of time, because you remember back in like the 50s and 60s, you'd have guys kicking straight on and not the soccer style from the a diagonal approach. So over the years, you just improve on that, and I think that you see the fruits of that labor coming to fruition. I do imagine at some point over the next... I've envisioned with how accurate they are, even from beyond, 50 yards now. Put it this way. I saw a stat that said kickers in Heinz Field history from 50-plus yards out are... I'm sorry, this is a bit of a tangent, but just showing how good Boswell is. Kickers from beyond 50 yards at Heinz Field, I think they hit less than 30% of 50-yard field goals, and Boswell in Heinz Field history is 80%, to give you an idea how good he is. But just in general, the 50-yard field goals, being able to hit from that far being super automatic, I mean, the Bears kicker, I saw something that he had made like 38 straight field goals. Remember when the Bears were having kicking issues? There's always a few teams that are, but most of the kickers these days are really good, 80+%.
But
I do see
top 6 are Tucker,
10,
Butker,
15 years
Boswell,
from now where the
Lambo, Lutz,
goalposts
and
get
Gold,
narrowed.
and they're all still playing right now. So, then after that is Vanderget. I don't know how to say his name in particular, but he played for the Colts and the Cowboys back in the day. But yeah, and then you go. It's just kind of crazy that this is where the NFL's gotten. It's pretty cool. Definitely is in the realm of possibilities to be shortening those field goal posts.
as far as the rest of special teams go, couple good
Harvin
punts
is
from
going to get
Presley
so much
Harvin,
more consistent. I
also
don't
some
understand
bad
what the
ones,
issue
and
is
obviously
with his
bad
inconsistency, 'cause he
situation
can
with the
boom
fumble
it.
from Ray
I don't
McLeod.
know
A mixed
if
bag
it's
from
like a
special
boomer.
teams.
It is
And
like
even
a
though
boomer
Presley
bust
Harvin
kind
had
of
a
thing
really
where
good
it's like
punt
you
at the
either
end
get
of the game, he
a
also had a
amazing
couple of
punt
JV punts
or you
again.
get one that's like going 30 yards, and it's really frustrating with him because if he could just get it together, he could be one of the best punters in the league, if not the best. Like his good punts are really, really good. Just the highs are high, the lows are low with Harvin.
He does have a 63-yard punt this year, only 2 touchbacks and 14 punts inside the 20. So, like,
Yeah, got to do a better job.
those are good numbers
being more
right there, but
consistent.
he's averaging less than 44 yards per punt, and his net is 40.3, which, remember, the Steelers set as that kind of goalpost. But again, that's outdated. That would have been good 20 years ago. Now you need to be closer to 45.
Yeah, it's definitely. Yeah, it's definitely possible. Let Harvin come back.
Thomas
to the practice
Morstead
squad,
was
and if someone
waived by the
poaches him,
Jets.
they poach
He
him.
has one of the best
It might be
net
better to go with
averages
Morstead for this
in
year.
league history.
To see. I
I'm
know
not
that
saying
the Jets
the
want
Steelers
to go with their
necessarily
man,
should, but
Brandon
I'd at
Mann,
least
who
be
got
thinking
hurt, I think,
about
week
it.
1 or week 2.
You just hate
and
to
he
do
should
that
be
because they
coming back
invested
now,
a
so.
pick in him. And then as far as the fumbling by Ray McLeod, a situation where you just can't have that. 2 weeks in a row he's fumbled.
So
Justin Lane
frustrating.
bailed him
I really
out
want
last
Ray
week. But,
McLeod to work because he's so electric.
I like McLeod as a returner. He's been solid, but
this
is strike 2. And I think if he does this again, Mike Tomlin reaffirmed he will be with the team this week. But I do think if this happens
making a
once
stupid
more,
mistake, like
he
he's
will be
electric.
gone.
He actually returns the ball and gets solid yardage. It's like the best we've seen it. But then he just has those boneheaded plays where it's like, why did you return that so deep in the end zone? Why did you fumble? What were you even doing on that fumble? Because I don't understand. Like, he ran into his own guy, then basically a Bears player ran through him and was able to force the fumble. Frustrating, because I want McLeod to work out. Yeah, he's got to know the situation, but I want McLeod to work out, and it's just not. Just not at all. Almost lost the game. I obviously gave he gave the Bears 7 points, so that was a tough pill to swallow. But
the situation.
Good for now. It's good for now, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, Steven Sims is waiting on the practice squad, likely for his time. It's like the same thing. He's the same player as McLeod, so we'll see.
He is on, I think, strike 2, though. I think one more of these through the rest of the season, and he's probably gone.
Yeah, we could talk about offense.
On the plus side, he did have a nice catch, a 12-yard reception on the game-winning drive, which, I mean, we can kind of transition to offense now if you'd like. So, in total, the offense, just 280 yards of offense. Again, this team really lacking in the explosive play department. I believe just 2 explosive plays on the day. Is it hard to be too critical, Austin? They did score 29 points, and they did take advantage of defensive turnovers.
I wasn't totally in love with how they played.
Well, why don't we start with the offensive line in this one? After 4 straight games where it felt like they were making progress and playing well, this game definitely felt like a step back. Dan Moore struggled mightily once again. Kendrick Green struggled big time. Kevin Dotson had issues. Trey Turner probably played the best, but still had a sack that was attributed directly to him because he failed to pick up a blitzer on a delay. And Okorafor was okay, I guess. Just not a big push in the running game like we saw against a better defensive front last week. This is, again, a front minus Khalil Mack. So, issues for the Steelers' offensive line and getting a push and protecting Ben Roethlisberger on a consistent basis. just a step back for them, which, again, it's going to happen. You don't have a linear progression with these guys, but not the type of performance you wanted to see from them. Frustrating. Just they ran, I think I texted you, had 7 of 11 successful runs early, but then they really struggled throughout the latter portion of the game, and it felt like they were just pulling teeth on these third and fourth and ones converting.
Dan Moore back-to-back
they did convert
weeks
them,
with,
and I also got to give Mike Tomlin credit for being more aggressive with them.
Play. This week was a little bit less excusable.
Just
last
like
week
this
was against Miles Garrett. Fine, fair. Yeah, that's like that's a guy playing for Defensive Player of the Year this year. Fair. This week was Robert Quinn. Still, he's a solid defensive player. I definitely don't want to take that away from him, but I do want to see Dan Moore play better. He kind of played about the same. Like, he was getting just absolutely destroyed in this game. I felt like I didn't like how he played. If we see one more week of that, we might see some shuffling happen. Not the Steelers like to shuffle, but like, if you have Zach Banner, you paid Zach Banner, and Chukwuma Okorafor was supposed to be left tackle, you might have to consider making some moves, or even just putting Joe Haig out there on one of the sides and moving Chukwuma Okorafor, or whatever you have to do, because the play is bad. You don't want to kill his confidence, but he's playing so bad that your hand be forced. It's only 2 weeks, though, so I think he has more time. I don't think he's going to be benched this upcoming week, but if he plays like that on the 3rd week, I'm thinking that he likely will be benched, because the Steelers do have options, all but maybe not that great, but they have options. Yeah. Hope so.
He better not against the Lions. I mean, he better have a step up this week, considering the competition. So, yeah, you definitely hope so. And yeah, the rest of it, it's just acceptable growing pains, I suppose. But just another example of if this team is not going to be running the ball successfully, this team just isn't connecting down the field consistently enough for it to be a difference. And, you just saw a good example of that, where this team is going to need turnovers if they're not running the ball successfully. And again, I don't want to bang on this offense too much, because they're a missed extra point away from crossing that 30-point plateau, which seemed impossible at the beginning of the year. But at the same time, it just feels like this offense is too much of a throw short, run long type of offense. But hey, you know what? I got to give Chase Claypool a lot of credit. I gave him a lot of crap this year, but he did come up with a big play for the 2nd week in a row, a combat catch down the field for an explosive play. So yeah, I give that guy a lot of credit.
They tried taking
Deontay Johnson, up until the final drive of the game, really quiet.
But it didn't work.
Didn't expect for him to be kind of shut out for most of the game, but I suppose the Bears did a pretty good job of trying to eliminate him.
That kind of saved the day. And then, yeah, Chase Claypool was also pretty good. Chase Claypool converted first down on a rush, had an 11-yard rush, so he was good before he got injured as well. So, as a whole, I thought that the wide receivers did pretty solid.
I take that back. There were 3 explosive plays in this game.
Yeah, if you want to.
Obviously, Claypool had one, Deontay Johnson had one late, and James Washington had the wounded duck from Ben Roethlisberger that he came way back for and made a catch for, which was down the middle, which I suppose feather in the cap, I guess. So. Just, it really feels like this offense is going to have to block it up and play better on both running game and the passing game for this offense to play better. There's just not someone that can win consistently on the outside down the field enough, and Ben Roethlisberger can't hit them often enough. So
I sure hope so.
The winning formula is there. There's just a lot of caveats, and we've seen them do just enough, but it feels like this is a game upcoming against the Lions where they had better play. This would better be the game where they score 30 points next week. I'll put it that way. where do you feel like this offense is in terms of how? You know what? I will say this: Pat Freiermuth, Najee Harris, and Deontay Johnson are clearly the best playmakers on this team. Pat Freiermuth, like you said, what a night for him. 2 more touchdowns, including a mossing on Vildor over there, and an excellent play with old classic Ben Roethlisberger extending the play, even though that was really just a 3-man rush with great protection. But excellent play from him and Ben Roethlisberger on the second touchdown of the game. And, oh, by the way, an opening drive touchdown, third time this season. For all the crap we've given the offense and
opening game
the
script,
inconsistent play they had in this game.
Plays for that first drive.
You know what? They moved the ball when they had to.
That's
Very similar,
reminding
me a lot of the Buffalo game. But again, another opening
you
drive
obviously
touchdown.
have to hit the guys that are open and make it count. But he's been good. He's been good with the opening drive script.
We saw more end arounds in this game, jet sweeps. Chase Claypool, Deontay Johnson, and James Washington each had 2. All of them had 1 that was successful. So, again, manufacturing these running plays. Even Benny Snell had a successful run in this game. Just doing just enough in this game. And the offense didn't turn the ball over, which, you know what?
Yeah,
I wouldn't say that this is
helps.
their ceiling. I'd still say the Broncos game is the closest they've come to their ceiling this year. But when they don't turn the ball over, it can make up for the fact that they're not creating explosive plays some of the time. On the flip side, this game was really a tale of 2 halves. Really a tale of 3 quarters and 1 quarter, if you want to be more precise. The Bears offense, first 5 drives of the game, 4 punts and an interception. And from that point on, they gave up a field goal, a touchdown, and then a missed field goal to end the game. So not exactly a ringing endorsement of this defense, which once again, after a good start to the game, struggled mightily, and even against a rookie quarterback with all that was going on and playing as badly as he'd played at points this year. Just 3 sacks against and an interception that was frankly just an incredible individual effort by Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward's tied for the team lead in interceptions, Austin. That's not good halfway through the season. I mean, you're happy for Cam, and he's got 2 interceptions, and he's got an interception in consecutive seasons. They got 8 quarterback hits and 3 sacks, but, the Bears went max protect a lot. And just guys running free and open late in this game. And I'll give Justin Fields credit. He has a live arm for sure, and he was able to make some plays scrambling. But this Steelers team was not prepared for the Wildcat offense. They were not prepared for Justin Fields on designed runs, which I was worried they might attempt to do this week. And they also just were not prepared and were unable to cover deep down the field. Cole Kmet got loose twice a couple times. Marquise Goodwin had a 50-yard reception. Darnell Mooney had a big touchdown. Jimmy Graham had a big reception. Allen Robinson had a massive reception on a go-ahead touchdown drive. So just, this offense was all over Justin Fields early, but once the Bears made adjustments, the Steelers started busting coverages and not playing well. It's almost like the exact opposite of what happened with the Seahawks game, where the Seahawks just started running the ball at will. This time the Bears just started throwing the ball at will.
No, it was a
they were
complete
running
fourth
the ball
quarter
well.
breakdown. Up until the fourth quarter, they'd only allowed 6 points.
Yes, they made plays when they had to again, just like the offense
is
was similar to the Broncos game of a few weeks ago. But
is where they
just at the end of the game, you did not feel like they were going to be able to make a stop.
Fourth quarter touchdowns was on Ray McCloud, but yeah, they really started breaking down towards the end and weren't able to. They were able to clutch up in the end, but really it was the offense saving them. The defense, the defense did just enough and then the offense was able to drive down the field and get the game-winning score. I guess the defense left them enough time, I should say, to let the offense drive down the field and get the game-winning score. But yeah, weird to say that the offense.
As weird as that is to say. It's kind of weird because that's kind of how Super Bowl 43's game script went, as odd as that was. But Justin Fields had like an average depth of target of like 11 or 12 or something, I want to say. Like, he was pushing it down the field. Really rough game from Terrell Edmonds. Probably his worst of the season.
I just don't understand
getting
how
blown
Joe
away
Hayden
by
can play more
34-year-old tight end
than
Jimmy
Terrell
Graham.
Edmonds. Like, it doesn't make sense.
Man, he's
to me
just
with
an
how
enigma.
athletic
And,
he is. Obviously,
it sucks
Joe Hayden
because
had a
he is
big
very
half-break,
athletic, but this is a guy that
Jimmy
just
Graham in the end
hasn't
zone
made plays like
in
he was
this game,
supposed to
and
as a late
Terrell Edmonds
first-round
is
pick.
not good enough. Like, I know it's been a common storyline that, oh, he's having a sneaky good season. He's not. It's just not. He's not that good. He's okay. Solid. He's like, I don't even want to call him solid. He's literally just okay. And he's more leaning towards the bad side of okay rather than being the good side of okay. Like average. You know. I just... Yeah. Yeah, it's tough. One thing I wanted to point out with the Bears, I was surprised at how much they used David Montgomery. He got a full workload, and that was not expected.
He just has too many technical issues and process speed for him to be a reliable option.
15, yeah.
Yeah, I was big time surprised because I was expecting minimum 10.
It's
true. Maximum
Khalil Herbert only got
10 touches in this game, and I know he finished with only 15, but it felt like he was very active and a part of it. Like, he could have probably... Honestly, he probably would have had more if the Steelers weren't ahead by 14 for periods of this game. So, yeah, he was playing very well, and just... I will say I feel like Minkah Fitzpatrick had probably his most consistent game of the season. Not an elite performance. Again, no turnovers here, but I feel like he did play very well. His tackling was better. There were a couple plays where Fields started scrambling with the ball or had a designed run, and there was a third down play in particular. Fields converted, but Fitzpatrick flew in there really quickly, and that's you like to see him making plays like that. He also nearly had an interception where Fields made a good play to not throw the ball there, but it was a very similar cover one robber look that he had a pick six on Baker Mayfield on last year. I don't know if you remember the play I'm talking about.
Not playing.
Right. But he's starting to turn around, so I'd say that's quite encouraging, but the rest of the secondary is just inconsistent. Joe Hayden, again, had a fairly solid game, but he's definitely not the player he once was. James Pierre is inconsistent, and, so is everyone else in the secondary. What? He's also not playing. Confused about the personnel package. The Steelers running nickel and not dime in that late game situation. And not that having Arthur Millette on Allen Robinson late in the game is the same as having a linebacker like John Bostic on Keenan Allen. It's also not a great situation because Millette is undersized, not typically a great cover corner, going up against the Bears' best receiver. And I know his numbers are down,
it's just
but
weird.
Let's be honest. Allen Robinson is the best receiver that the Bears have.
Arthur Millette played 23.
He got wide open on that mismatch on
what exactly happened there, but
could have been the game-winning drive for the
James
Bears.
Pierre was one of the
that just can't happen in that
defense.
situation.
The only one that was technically lower than him was Derek Tuska. He got 5 of 62. 10. Also tied for it.
How many did Trey Norwood play? Look, the biggest question about this defense was how they'd respond to changes in the secondary. And I think that you can't look at this defense this year and say that they've been anything but a disappointment. 2 years they've been, and I know that you shouldn't have expected them to play a ton better this year,
so you can't really
given all
get
the
as
change,
mad.
but this
secondary
has been an issue.
I think they're actually doing a better job in coverage than the past 2 years, but they're not getting the picks to kind of make up for when they make mistakes. So that's really hurting the team overall. And what makes it worse than the past 2 years. So I would prefer more turnovers rather than the somewhat better coverage, I suppose, than this year. Yeah, but I think that was the personnel. Like, I don't know why you're not putting James Pierre out there, like, at all.
Are you
Like,
sure that they're
doesn't
better in
make
coverage
sense.
this year? Because they had five receivers, five different players on the Bears had explosive play receptions. And that's fair too. Like that's certainly a good criticism to have. I don't know. I feel like this team really misses Mike Hilton and Steven Nelson for different reasons. Obviously, Arthur Maulette is a decent player downhill. He's made plays this year, and Mike Hilton was very similar in that mold.
Yeah,
Very
no.
good downhill, not great in coverage, but he's
Yeah.
better at his job than Arthur Maulette is at his. And on the outside, I like James Pierre. I got nothing against the guy. I'm sure he'll continue to improve, but he's certainly not the player that Steven Nelson is.
Mm. Mm.
It hamstrings you when you have to play more zone when you're playing with young guys like Norwood
Yes.
too, because it's easier to defend in zone, less responsibility for those young players, and I think that's a part of it too. The Steelers' second half defense this year has been really bad. They gave up obviously now I know that the McLeod touchdown, honestly, that was the biggest part of the game. That was the turning point. If the Bears had won, that was massive, and I
Quite a
don't want to
lot,
discount
but I
that.
don't remember
But in crunch
exactly.
time,
That
this
was
defense
what,
has
like
struggled in the
35?
second half. They gave up. Obviously, they gave up. What was the number? 21 fourth quarter points this week. How many did they give up to the Broncos in the second half of that one? 13 of their 19 points in the fourth quarter. Seattle obviously had all of their 20 points in the second half. So you're seeing a trend here with this team. The Raiders also had 17 of their 26 points in the second half. So, it's speaking for itself,
Yeah,
kind of, is the
I
second half
wonder
defense.
really what it is.
They're,
Teams are adjusting to
I don't
the
know if
Steelers'
it's
defense
as
that they
simple as
have, and I guess the
adjustments,
Steelers
not
aren't
making
making
personnel
the same adjustments.
changes.
That's kind
I don't
of
know what it is.
tells
I'm
me
sure it's a
that either the
combination of a
defense
bunch
is
of
really
things,
just
but the
breaking
second
down
half
in the
defense
second
for
half,
most of this year
and
has been bad.
it's probably a combination of teams are adjusting in the second half and the Steelers aren't, and then they're by the time they are adjusting, it's too late. The other team has already scored some points off of it.
Against the Bears and
Yeah, that was a
Broncos,
long
they
time.
absolutely should have been able to slow it down, given that they could have pinned their ears back with 14-plus point leads in the both games. And then against the Seahawks, I know that the Seahawks just came out and ran the ball,
Yeah.
but it took them it took them one whole quarter to adjust too.
Yeah.
So again,
I mean, style points kind of tells
you
you
talk
how,
about this
how
team,
good the
it feels
team
like
is.
a lot of
Winning is
smoke and
winning,
mirrors.
but style points
be
kind of
honest with
tells you more of
They're
where
winning,
actually at. So.
But style points
know.
don't matter, Austin, but they kind of matter because that's all we're talking about.
Oh yeah.
There's a reason that generally the teams in the Super Bowl or the Final Four are the teams with the best point differentials. So in the big picture, obviously winning is all that matters, but this team, you really feel like they have to start turning a corner here at some point. I still don't know that this is a playoff team. They've done a great job to put themselves back in the thick of things here, and they're in position to make the playoffs right now. I think if the playoffs did start today, they're a playoff team, but they need to shore things up defensively.
23.
And, you look at what are those two stats that
It's
we
one of
always hear
those,
about?
yeah.
Defensive adjusted net yards per passing attempt and turnovers forced this season. And in terms of turnovers forced, I think, what is that magic number? Isn't it like 25? 23? It used to be 25, but regardless, 23, 25, that's pretty close to what you want, right? So right now they have,
Yeah.
let's see here.
Nope.
They have 8.
Yeah, so
8
it's not going
halfway
to be
through
good,
the
and
season,
likely
so
that
they're
number is
pacing
going to go up.
16,
But the
so
extra
they're
game that
quite a
number
bit
is probably
off.
going to jump. If
This
it was
was their
23,
first game
it's
with
definitely
multiple
going to
turnovers
25. If it's
forced,
25,
and one of them was
likely
special
going to go
teams,
up
not
for
even defense.
the requirement
So
because of that extra game.
that's obviously not good.
I think so, yeah.
And then in terms of adjusted net yards per passing attempt, I forget
not
where the
really.
Steelers lie, but I'm fairly certain they have a negative.
I was kind of
they have a
sad to not see
negative
Zach Gentry get involved
NEA stat.
on the team today. Kevin Rader got a catch.
I'm gonna have to
but
check this one out.
No Zach Gentry
Any further
on
thoughts
that
you have at the
day.
moment?
Yeah, that's nuts.
Okay. The Steelers' current adjusted net yards per passing attempt is 24th in the league. Sorry, tied for 23rd with
for the defensive
the Giants,
or just overall?
0.1 yards behind the Chiefs, Austin, as wild
Offensive?
as that is.
Probably the Titans.
At 6.7 yards. Take a wild guess who's first. I don't think you're going to get this one. Offensive. Wait a minute. I have the wrong statistic. I apologize. I have resorted.
Oh, okay.
Adjusted
at
net
the
yards
top
per
four?
passing attempt. The Steelers are 22nd, just 0.3 yards behind the Chiefs at 6.0 yards, and that's 22nd in the
Geno
league.
Smith lit.
Sorry,
Smith elite.
the team at the top now is a little more understandable. It's the Rams at 8.3.
Probably the Packers.
The Seahawks. The Seahawks are still fifth in this stat, by the way.
I thought because that one bad game where Rodgers had to throw literally
guess who's
everything at
last
the 1
in the
yard line.
statistic with 3.7 yards? Really? You went with the Packers. They're 14th.
Classic.
No. NEA is a statistic that includes passing yards, sack
probably.
yards, plus 20... oh my god, this is a complicated statistic.
No,
Anyhow,
not at all.
the team that's in last place is the Bears. I'd be willing to bet their NEA stat this week was quite high.
If only it could be.
Not exactly what you want to see, right? Now, can I see the defensive NEA stats? I doubt it. It's never that easy.
Yeah.
Oh, I really wish that this kind of stuff was easier
they had qualified for
to see.
for both
We
of those.
already complained about that before, didn't we? The whole well, regardless, I'm pretty sure the Steelers have a negative differential, and you want to be a +1 in that differential, which I believe they were last year.
Yeah, gotta get it down a little bit.
I think I saw it sometime this week that defensive NEA is at 7, which I don't think any team has won the Super Bowl with an NEA above 6. Yeah. So that kind of speaks for itself.
Sure, yeah.
Again, this game upcoming week is the one you better have an improvement. All right, shall we get to the elephant in the room, the officiating? All right, where do you want to start? Let me say first that I don't necessarily subscribe to the idea that, a team, the penalties should generally be relatively even. 4 years ago, the Pittsburgh Penguins played the Nashville Predators in a crucial Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Pittsburgh won 2-0. Nashville should have had a goal in that game, and there was a play where the whistle was blown when Matt Murray had stopped the puck. The official thought that he had the puck, but he didn't, and it was poked in. If the whistle hadn't blown, the goal would have counted, and it should have counted. Pittsburgh ended up winning 2-0 when it should have been at the very least 1-1 or 1-0 Nashville. So because of that, there's that idea that the officials make it up to Nashville by calling penalties. I believe Nashville had 4 power plays in that game and Pittsburgh had none. Here's the thing. The penalties Pittsburgh took in that game were actually penalties. It's not always that simple that it's going to be even. So let me just point out that I don't always believe that, you're striving for equality in terms of penalties in games. The Steelers had 5, the Bears had 12.
The NFL stands
so
by
let me just get
that
that
rule
out of the way.
sucks. I hate
On
that
the other
taunting
hand, there
rule.
were definitely
I feel
penalties
bad
in
for
this
Cassius
game
Marsh,
that were
honestly.
called on Chicago
that
that
rule
should not
sucks.
have been.
I guess they called it correctly. I guess that is one of the ones that they actually... Yeah, but the rule sucks. Yeah, so I guess in that case it's more of hate the rule, not the call.
Letter of the law, it's technically right. Let me point this out, though. I feel like the spirit of the rule in general is supposed to be don't spike a ball in a player's face or stick the ball in his face. Don't be like overly flamboyant.
Yeah, it was
or
very, very
whatever
soft.
towards another player.
He wasn't even
or
really
like
making
that.
gesture.
The difference is Marsh here.
He was just kind of walking over,
4
just
steps,
kinda, I don't know,
just posed
doing
and looked
like
at the Steelers bench
with a swagger,
for
I guess
like a
I
second.
don't know, like it's just
That
he wasn't
seems
doing anything.
quite
Like he was
soft
just
to me.
walking over. I guess they really didn't like him walking towards the Steelers bench when there was no reason to, and he was getting off the field. But yeah, soft call. Hated that. Tony Correnti.
Hated even more what the official, I forget his name. Yeah, Tony Corrente purposefully hip checking Cassius Marsh, which I frankly think is ridiculous. And I think that, first of all, we've talked about this for a long time, that people doing that, officials need to be held accountable. They need to be made available to the media after the game. They need to be openly fined or suspended when things are incorrect. And let me say that I do think that they get a lot of crap that they don't deserve. At the same time, I think it makes no sense that there's no transparency whatsoever. I think that there needs to be more transparency with that, and I think that they need to be open to be criticized more. And they need to be held accountable for what they're doing. Corrente needs to be held accountable for his
honestly,
poor performances.
This is where I kind of differ. I really don't see anything
like that.
with
Purposely
hip check. It more looked like he's trying to stop him and say, "Hey, I'm throwing a penalty."
nothing happened. But
really
what if he
with
tripped
that.
Marsh and he tore his ACL? That's absolutely inexcusable. I think he should be suspended for that.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like if you back up into a person and they tear their ACL. It was very...
Yeah, but what if something does happen, though? Why do that? Why not just put your hand on him and say, like, hey, what are you doing?
Still, just like backing
that.
up into a person.
I just don't understand
tearing
at all.
their ACL. I don't know. That's not something... It was like, just replaying it, like, it was like a light
Yeah, but that
touch.
was on
Like,
purpose, though.
That's what...
There's a difference between doing it on accident and on purpose.
Upset about that. Yeah. Missed offsides on the field goal attempt at the end of the game.
All right, fair. I mean, fair enough, but certainly there's a lot of other issues to get to in regards to that. Yeah, so missed offsides on the Steelers, at least from what it looked like. Certain. I never understand why there isn't a camera angle directly over the ball on every play. But whatever. The Bears,
those
make
were
no
good
mistake,
calls.
the Bears were lining up
Yeah.
offsides on like a bunch of occasions. And from what Max Starks and
those,
Craig Wolfley have
the ones
said,
on the
is
Bears
that
they got
will
like a
warn
Robert
you
Quinn, like that was
before
just
they
that was
actually
bad.
throw
That
the flag
was
on
stupid.
you for doing that.
Them, and
So this is
that's
something
not
the Bears were doing
giving the
constantly.
Steelers a
So
break
that
or
is
anything
stupidity.
there.
Those were
they
good calls,
playing
and that's just
so
stupidity
bad
on their part.
in that regard. And another thing to point out is like all the missed false starts. Their tackles were false starting. Like every play. So it's like they got it's I still think that the refs were very much in favor of Pittsburgh at the end of the day in this game, but like there was missed calls against the Bears too as well. Not that two wrongs make a right, but those they didn't get a lot of false start calls, and like those tackles, man, they were false starting so much in this game. Yeah, that made no sense. That that made
the obvious
no
call that
sense.
was
Like,
incorrect
I don't know
was
what the ref saw. He barely even made contact.
low chop block on
TJ Watt.
TJ
That was
Watt,
bad.
which was not outside the tight end box. It was inside the tight end box, and that took a touchdown off the board. I think that was the most egregious one, to be honest with you. And then there was another instance where Alex Highsmith hit Justin Fields late, and there was no flag either.
Yeah, maybe it's that they got to start learning to bitch at the refs more.
I'm not saying I'm not upset at
I
that.
don't know.
I understand the frustration, but that
It
seems
might,
to be
yeah.
the
Like,
case
that's
with
how Tom
rookie
Brady gets his
quarterbacks and younger
calls.
quarterbacks.
How
They
the
don't
older
get those
veterans
calls.
get their calls.
As wrong
like,
as that
hey,
is, that's
this guy's hitting me.
I feel like that's
Pay
an
attention.
isolated thing.
Like,
Maybe it
Yeah.
feels like that makes
Yeah,
a
for
difference,
sure.
doesn't it?
they're bad and they should feel bad.
Ben didn't used to get those calls, and he does certainly more these days than he did 10 years
Okay.
ago.
All right, fair. I guess it's a little rough to ask 1 week for Cam
Any
Newton
other
to get
thoughts on
ready.
the officiating
Fair.
this game in general? Update from Dov Kleiman. The Panthers will start P.J. Walker this week.
Yeah,
All
so
right,
there are 18 that reportedly
let's move into
contacted
NFL
him,
news.
in his
Couple
camp.
things we didn't
Those
get
are
to.
the
Odell
Patriots, the
Beckham
Packers,
Jr.
the Seahawks, the
Actually, really
Saints,
the only thing we
49ers,
didn't
the
get to.
Chargers,
Odell
the
Beckham
Raiders, and the
Jr., who
Chiefs.
was waived, was not claimed.
It seems to be, though,
You
that
said there's apparently
the
8 teams
49ers
that
are
are
not in
interested
it,
in him.
nor
You
are
want
the
to touch on that a
Chargers,
bit?
really. I mean, he still hasn't made a decision. It seems like the front runners right now are the Packers, Patriots, Saints, and Chiefs. The Packers are the only ones that have their offer reported. They offered the veteran minimum, apparently. And someone reported, I forget who said it, that they don't even really want to sign him. They just wanted to say that they put in the effort. So they really made a lowball offer just to throw it out there. So I think the Packers are going to end up losing out on this. But the Packers were like where the first team that was originally said. Then the Patriots are making a late push. It's tough to say where he's going to go now. It's really... I think there might be a bidding war going on currently as he makes his choice. They said he's waiting till Sunday. After the games on Sunday to make his choice, but we'll see if he makes a choice a little bit earlier.
It's kind of interesting because it depends on what he's looking for. Is he looking to be the guy somewhere? Is he looking to chase a ring? What is it? Because if he's looking to be the number one guy, I think that makes it quite obvious where he should go. He should go to the Saints. That's a team that he'd be number one there.
Yeah, I mean, if all these
right
teams
away.
have actually sent him an
Now,
offer,
if he
it's
wants
not
to
guaranteed.
win,
They might have checked in with
the
them, but,
Packers or Chiefs would be
he's
the two
got
teams
some
I'd think
pretty
about. And
solid
then there's also
choices
the
to
Raiders
make.
who
I mean,
need
the
another
Patriots are
receiver
one
too.
game
So
behind the Bills now.
he's got
in
some
that
interesting
division.
choices, and
The
it
Packers
depends on
should
what
be,
he's mostly looking for.
basically running away with their division, but he wouldn't be the number one there. He would be the number one wide receiver in the Patriots. I'm not sure he'd be the number one pass catcher, but he'd be the number one there. Saints definitely number one, but I don't know if he wants that. And the Saints are kind of turning down with Trevor Siemian, Taysom Hill. That's not fun. Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes is solid. He wouldn't even be the second option though. He'd become option 3 there. So a lot of decisions to make. Okay. Sure. I believe it.
According to Pro Football Talk, the Chiefs have emerged as a perceived favorite as of 12 hours ago.
I still hold that I think he's best on a team that doesn't need him to be the first option.
And they definitely need a third option. He definitely could help some teams. I know I've been quite against him lately, but I do think that there's a spot for him where he could help.
Oh. We didn't do the Thursday night game.
Mm-hmm. Any other anything else we want to get to before we close this one out today? I would like to point out that former Steelers wide receiver... What's up? Oh, all right. Well, real quickly, I'm going to point out that former Steelers receiver Louis Lips will not be attending the Steelers Hall of Honor ceremonies this upcoming week after he was arrested for DUI this past weekend. He issued a statement through the team, quote, "I understand the significance of my actions this past weekend, and I want to apologize and take responsibility for what occurred. I have spoken with Art Rooney II and informed him I will not attend the Steelers Hall of Honor ceremonies this weekend. While I am flattered, humbled, and honored to be included for recognition along with the other former players who are also deserving of this special weekend, I do not want to be a distraction. I am committed to working through the consequences of what transpired and will continue to be an active part of the community and the Steelers alumni." So, on one hand, it's very unfortunate, and he made a very bad mistake. But luckily, it seems like no
don't
one
drink
else
and drive. It's just not
injured.
smart. Again, just because he didn't kill anyone or injure anyone or
at
injure
least
himself,
it seems like from
doesn't
afar
mean
that he is
that
taking
it won't happen the
responsibility
next
for his
time.
actions.
Don't drink and
So,
drive.
unfortunate situation, but hopefully, best case scenario resulting from it. All right, and then you wanted to get to Thursday Night Football. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Miami Dolphins. The Ravens are touchdown and a half, so 7.5-point favorites on the road. I will point out that this one made me think twice just because the Dolphins, I think, are a little bit better than I think maybe their record says, and the Ravens are coming off playing overtime this past week.
I'm going to go with Baltimore covering.
So
I just
this
don't
could be
trust in Brissett enough.
A sneaky one for the Dolphins
with that
to have
offensive line.
a plus the point situation.
And
But
Baltimore
I
has been
ultimately do like the Ravens
really good in the second half.
It would be
of
huge
games
if the
and scoring
Dolphins were able
points,
to win this one.
Give me Baltimore to cover. Might be close, so I think they're going to pull away in the fourth quarter.
One of those games where you just think about the Ravens zero blitzing against that offensive line, and somehow three guys are going to run free instead of one.
I don't know. He was so good last year. He was like in defensive player of the year talks last year.
See, what's odd about the Dolphins is their run defense has been better than their pass defense. They invested all that much in their secondary, and Xavier Howard's given up 7 touchdowns this year. Like, what happened?
Yeah, it's scary. Scary how things change so quick.
That double-digit picks, and obviously picks aren't the only thing. Obviously, Trevon Diggs has a bunch of interceptions, but he's getting toasted every week, too. Xavier Howard was legitimately a shutdown corner last year. All right, we'll be back probably on Saturday night. I would like to point out that with the Lions playing, I'm going to try to get my buddy Will back on the show to talk
varsity.
Lions. So
that is an NFL
maybe we can have him on together. We'll see what's going on, but I will be reaching out to him shortly to see if he can come on the show and talk about what's going on with his poor Lions sitting at 0-8. But they're coming off a bye, so again, do not take the Lions lightly, Austin.
The Steelers are going to lose this game. It's guaranteed. I guarantee it.
And as you predicted not long ago, the Steelers would lose this game. Alrighty. Well, until next time, thank you as always for listening to the Stronger Than Steel podcast with Austin and John. As always, you can email us at strongerthansteelpodcast@gmail.com with any questions, concerns, or thoughts about the show or the Steelers. You can check out our podcast on YouTube under the name Stronger Than Steel Podcast, and you can always check us out on our new home, anchor.fm/Stronger Than Steel. Until next time, thank you for joining us on today's podcast, And we hope you tune in for our next one, hopefully later this week. Until next time, thank you for listening to the Stronger Than Steel podcast. Take care, everybody.
You have been listening to Stronger Than Steel podcast. Thank you for joining us today, and don't forget to check out our website listed in the description below.